Hey everybody, here we are, episode 7 already. Episode 7, the incident. Or really like a major incident early on. I was very back and forth whether I should tell this, omitting some things, but I think my main goal is to help others that are in relationships like this, and also to speak my truth, because I went through a lot and I cannot tell the whole story without full disclosure. And even though the ex-husband Troy, did all these things, I wanted to kind of preserve his stuff. But his stuff, it affected me and my life and everything. So I think since I'm not using his real name for the purpose of the entire story and for how everything affected my life, I just have to be open and honest. I'm really hoping that it's just going to be okay this way, because what can you do? It has to be told, and it's fine. So here it goes. We had moved into a house, the house that I previously talked about. We actually now moved even closer to my mom and grandpa, which was wonderful. We were able to walk with the kids over to see them almost every single day. And I could not have imagined life without them, because they were just my rock. And the incident happened. I don't know if you remember. It was the night that Tiger Woods scandal broke. I think it was the day after it was the day after Thanksgiving. It was Black Friday morning. And Tiger Woods' cheating scandal just got exposed. His wife took the golf club to him. It was that night. And I had so much stress at the time, and afterwards too, there were other things that were horrible. So I don't even remember if this was the exact incident, which one of the incidents this was. I remember that this was the first time I kind of pulled the curtain back, and I was just besides myself, stressed out, anxiety, what just happened. And I believe that it was this. I believe that this was the night that I saw that he had written emails wanting to hook up with a guy. And he wrote these emails very graphically, very, very raunchy. And I mean, definitely not what a Jehovah's Witness would do ever. And I was just in shock. How did this happen? And this is going to be hard to believe, but besides all the stuff I went through, I always kind of thought that was his issues. And I thought, he has social anxiety and all this stuff. I would make excuses. But there were good times, and I thought that we were, that we loved each other. But this really kind of threw a wrench in it, because these emails were written to men with the goal of hooking up. And I think it was one at the time. It was one email. And he started making excuses. And to me, I really just want to put a disclaimer out there. I am totally fine if you're gay, if you want to be gay. Every single person deserves to be happy and to be loved and to be free. This is a free country. You get to be free. Except that when you enter a marriage with someone, and hey, if you agree to these terms and the other person's okay with that, that's fine too. But for me personally, I was not made aware of this. I had no no idea what was going on. And plus, I was a Jehovah's Witness at the time, and so was he. And if I may ever say so, he was very homophobic, actually. So much so that I would say, I don't think we should talk like this about people. Because, I had friends in school who were gay, and I really liked them, and I saw them as my friends, no objections. And to me, being a Christian always felt like Jesus was just nice to everybody. We shouldn't judge, we should just be nice. What everybody does is their own business. It's not my business. To me, it meant I have to make sure that I live in a way that I find acceptable to God, but I do not get to judge other people. That was me. So when he would be homophobic and really rude about it, I would just say something like, that's a lot. Like, why would you say that? That's really crazy. So this was shocking. And he said to me, well, I wrote this email. It was supposed to be a joke, but we were pranking someone. It was with this radio show that I called in, or some podcast or something. And in all seriousness, cognitive dissonance, because on one hand, I'm like, whatever. But on the other hand, I just can't imagine him actually being for real with this, because he's this holier than thou Jehovah's Witness, homophobic, and never seemed like he was anything but straight. So I really didn't know what to believe. And he talked this away it was he shouldn't have done this, but it was a terrible joke and all this. And so I was really upset. And this was the night of Tiger Woods. And I took the car and I left and I drove around. And I went to my in-laws, and they were really nice to me that night and just kind of pep talked me. And I could kind of tell, I think my father-in-law was upset, because here he thought some stuff, you should have known and all this. So they were but you're married and you have kids and you guys can make this work, and we're going to be there and we'll help you out with him and stuff. So I went home and I'm just I think we need to talk, and I think you have more things to tell me that I didn't know. And he's like, yes. And we sat on the couch looking at each other for hours without him saying anything. But he wasn't angry, because this was really not a good time to be angry. This was a time for him to talk himself out of this whole situation. And I was sitting there, I'm just sitting waiting for him to tell me what's up, because this makes no sense. I'm very confused. So here's the thing he told me, that I was kind of back and forth, should I tell it or not? But I am just going to go ahead and tell it, because it is what happened. And I feel bad for him for this. But he told me that when he was little, his brother groomed him and abused him. And it started with pornography at a very, very young age. His brother would kind of feed him pornography, and then his brother abused him. Now, that's really sensitive information, and I felt really, really sorry for him, because that's just something that shouldn't happen to anybody, and I can understand that would affect you as a kid. And that was horrible, and I felt just heartbroken for him. And then he told me that he really didn't get disfellowship for prescription drugs like he had told me. If you haven't listened to the previous episodes, I believe this was in the episode Bethel, because he was disfellowshipped at Bethel. And what he had told me was 9/11 happened, and it was so sad, and it was so depressing for me, and I started abusing prescription drugs, and they caught me, and they sent me home. Yeah, he told me that was not the case. He said, I was at Bethel, and again, there was a story. He made it into a story. He said, I was at Bethel, and I was very, very depressed, and lonesome. And for some reason, I decided to go to a glory hole, which, you guys, I didn't even know what that was. I didn't even know. I did not know. I had to Google it. So basically, and like for Jehovah's Witness, like religious people, this is like a shocking thing. You go to a sex shop and there's a wall in the back where you don't even see who's on the other side. Could be anybody. Forget STD tests. And this is so crazy to me, like I can't even believe it, but you basically insert your penis into this glory hole and someone on the other end gives you oral sex that you don't even know, you don't see. It's crazy. As a 19-year-old Bethelite, he was like doing all this stuff, like it was just wild. With just, I mean, the risk of STDs and everything is just, to me, was just insane. But then he told like this sad story on how he just wanted to go home. He didn't know how he was going to be able to leave New York because you can't just leave Bethel. So for him, that was like a way to cope and to get out and get sent back home is by getting disfellowshipped, and like how what his brother had done like really messed him up. And I do remember, because this is a story of its own that's going to take and shape like its own character soon. It's important that I talk about this. I really feel like it'll come up later, but it's important. I know that he went to the elders and told them, even in Bethel, about all the stuff with his brother. And I know that they took the brother's information, including date of birth, full name, congregation, and baptism date. What I did not know at the time is that they do this when someone's an accused pedophile, basically. But I do remember the elders texting him asking for all those informations, and I think it's because they wanted to keep it in a file. And I think I even took a screenshot of that text message that he gave, like, I don't know why, but I felt like that was important at the time. So what do? You are nervous and you're really on edge, but you're also tired and you just had 2 babies. And with me, I'm very compassionate and I felt really, really sad for him. And so, you know, what he went through as a kid, I felt bad for him. And I'm like, well, maybe he never even got the help that he needed or whatnot. So we started therapy. And the brothers, I think he went to talk a little bit to the brothers, but nothing happened. Like, I think other people, if they had written even an email like this, something would have happened. Because as a JW, you can't just write like sexual emails to people. And he also talked away the whole email thing is like, I would never act out like that. It's this thing, it's like weird, it just kind of gets me going, and I would never act out. And part of me is like, yeah, I can't even ever picture him doing that, like, no. But then the other part deep down inside is like, well, if you're writing emails like this, it's kind of weird not to act on it, right? But anyways, so we go and we find a therapist. And at first that was kind of hard. And you don't like find the right fit. And you try on different therapists. And I think we were like 3 or 4. And then we finally found someone. And I will tell that story next time. This is a heavy episode. So I'll kind of split it up and keep going. But hold on tight. The ride keeps going.